My name is Jennifer Stanley, and I teach for the Insight Meditation Community of Washington, D.C. I've been a part of that community since 2000, and I've been practicing meditation since 1986, and it's a wonderful part of my life. I'm also trained as an ecological psychologist, and I've done work in public health systems in the past. I recognize a few faces here tonight, so it's nice to be with you. But we'll go ahead and get started with the meditation. So you can sit comfortably or stand if you're sleepy. You can also lie down. That can be another nice way to meditate, or even walking meditation can be helpful. Just settling into the body. Sometimes it feels like the heart and mind come to rest on the body, like a flock of birds come to rest on a lake in the evening. Perhaps you've been busy all day, and just as the body is settling on the chair or cushion, the heart and mind can settle on the body. And as we're beginning here today, perhaps taking a few deep breaths, deep intentional breaths, perhaps even holding the breath for a few seconds and then slowly exhaling, fully exhaling, perhaps even down the length of the body. Just doing a few rounds of this intentional breathing. This kind of breathing can trigger the relaxation response in the body. You can use it as a skillful means. And whenever you're ready, you can just let the breath return to its natural rhythm. Perhaps you might even notice that moment when the natural rhythm returns. Now I invite you to scan the body, noticing if the posture supports your alertness as well as a sense of ease in the body and the heart mind. And is there, or are there any micro adjustments you can make to the posture so it does support alertness and ease? Perhaps experimenting with that at this moment. remembering you can be gentle in your posture. There's no need to be rigid or hard. You might even look to see how you might soften in any place in the body, or perhaps soften the heart mind. And feel free to use a hand on the heart or some other place if it might assist in the softening. I remember years ago, Tara Brach saying one evening that just as a cup is filled with water, this body too can be filled with awareness. We can fill the entire body with awareness. The body, the heart, mind. And experimenting with this quality of filling the body with awareness. Beginning at the toes, just filling the toes with awareness. Noticing the aliveness in the toes. And then continuing to move up the body, letting the awareness fill the feet. And the awareness connecting and knowing, clearly comprehending the aliveness and vitality in the feet. Perhaps the sensations are pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. But just letting the awareness fill the feet. Then filling the ankles. And then the shins and calves. Feeling the sensations, the vitality from the inside out. And then filling the knees with awareness. If there's any discomfort in the knees, perhaps inclining towards that discomfort or towards the knees with a sense of kindness and care. letting the awareness hold any discomfort. And then when you're ready, letting the awareness fill the upper legs and hips. What is the awareness detecting at this time? And then letting the awareness fill the sits bones and buttocks. And the whole pelvic area. And then filling the torso with awareness from the inside out. Noticing sensations, perhaps of digestion, blood flow, different energies, the movement of the breath, the movement of the heart. Filling the skin, the flesh, and the bone of the torso with aliveness and awareness. Again, if you notice any discomfort in the torso, perhaps inclining towards that discomfort, the sense of care, support. Not so the discomfort is vanquished in any way, simply so it knows it's not alone, that you care. And then filling the shoulders and shoulder blades with awareness. And letting the arms and hands and fingers fill with awareness. Clearly knowing aliveness in the arms and hands. And then when you're ready, letting the neck and throat fill with awareness. And then letting the head, the face and head fill with awareness. The ears filling with awareness, the mouth, the nostrils, the eyes, inside the head. If you like, opening to the body as a whole, from head to toe and inside and out, the skin, the flesh, and the bone, filled with awareness. Perhaps even relaxing into this awareness, letting go a little bit, perhaps floating in this awareness. If you like, even letting the space around you fill with awareness. Even expanding the awareness to fill the room. Being aware of light or temperatures, sounds. Perhaps letting the awareness expand even further beyond the room. Perhaps the awareness knowing more distant sounds. Perhaps even experimenting with resting in this awareness, this wide open awareness. Perhaps even relaxing back into it. Being held in awareness. Sometimes the mind has the urge to want something to happen, to stir things up a bit. If that happens, see if you can coax it to relax back as well. Relaxing into this natural awareness, this natural awareness within the body, the space around the body, more distantly. Simply, gently encouraging, relaxing back into awareness. Just as we can fill a cup with water, we can fill the body, the heart, mind, and space with awareness. We'll have a few minutes of silent practice now. Allowing yourself to rest in this open awareness, relaxing back into this open awareness. And when you're ready, you can release this practice, coming back to the body, feeling the solidity of the body, regrounding yourself if that's appropriate. Perhaps deepening the breath as a way of reconnecting with the body or touch. And perhaps too remembering any insights that may have arisen during this meditation, or any skillful means that you may have employed. And in the spirit of generosity, dedicating the merit that we generate here together for the benefit of all beings everywhere. May all beings everywhere be held in the field of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. May all beings everywhere be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May all beings everywhere be healthy and strong. And may all beings everywhere, everywhere, fully awaken and be free. Sorry about that first bell ring. It was a little more vigorous than what I anticipated. Feeling free to stretch and readjust as you need to. Recently, I was talking with some newly minted teenagers, and I was using some contemplation questions with them, contemplation about generosity in this case. And, they were very eager, and a lot of shouting and was going on, and excitement and giggling. And, I was, saying the different questions or whatever, and they were vigorously answering, and trying to get the answer right. They would say, "Is that the right answer?" Each time, they would say something. And I would say, "There's no right answer. I mean, there's no right answer to these questions. They're just contemplation. They're just for contemplation." And then we proceeded to like the next question and so on. And we did this like multiple times. And then finally they said, "Can't this be a quiz?" They've been trained, quite well to take tests, multiple choice tests and things. And, that's a wonderful skill. And it showed their vigor and, how would I describe it? They weren't relaxed about it. They were, super wound up about getting things right. And it really just reminded me of some other students that I've worked with, people trying to get meditation right or life right, and how elusive this quality of relaxation can be for people. Even children um, uh, can be pretty far from relaxed. And I've noticed that when I go on walks myself and I myself can get, very tense and at times as well. And I've noticed that, when particularly when I'm outside in nature, going on a walk in a park, it doesn't even, it can be an urban park even. I just notice how my body and mind start to relax. You know, it's just a natural relaxation of outside. It's kind of like that kind of feeling. You know, even proliferation can stop or slow down. Um, and there can emerge this natural, or this quality of natural being, you know, where awareness is just there, the natural being is there. And it's really when you know, I can really connect with the natural flow of life. Um, that's when it really starts to emerge. I don't know if you've ever heard the story about uh, the monkey pot. Where have you heard the story of the monkey pot? Okay, where it's an old story, and I think Peter Carl Ontel is told it in 1993, but I think it's a very ancient story. Apparently, in India, they have pots with different holes in them, and the holes are not very big, but they're big enough to like get a banana inside. And then, you know, they put it out in the forest to lure monkeys so they can catch them, because the monkeys will stick their hands in, and when they grab a hold of the banana or whatever fruit is in there, you know, they're holding onto it, but because they're making a fist, they can't get their hand out, you know, because they want the fruit. And you know, there's this quality of where, you know, then the monkey is trapped, it can't get back up the tree, and then the trappers can trap them and, I don't know, train them, or do whatever they do with them. And you know, it seems like the humans that create these pots are like the trappers around this, and that you know, and that the monkey is kind of the victim in the whole thing. But really, if the monkey just let go of the fruit, you know, the monkey could get its hand out and it could get away. And you know, it seems very simple, and we could even be judgmental about the monkey, like, oh, that monkey, if it only knew, you know, just let go and you can be free. You know, that it kind of applies to us as well. I mean, how many times have we wanted the fruit or whatever, and our mind or our attitude kind of grips on to what's there, and we just don't want to let go, you know, and yet that grip is what keeps us trapped, you know, maybe in wanting things to be a certain way, or wanting ourselves to be a certain way. And our mind, our heart mind, is just kind of gripping and wanting things in a particular way. You know, and that can manifest in all kinds of ways. It can manifest like the young teenagers, you know, just wanting the right answer, you know, kind of being competitive or acquiring things. You know, any of our mental habits, it can really manifest that way. So that's one of the beauties of Dharma practice and the Buddha's teachings, is that he was really trying to encourage us to let go, so we're not trapped anymore. And you know, it's really about renunciation, learning how to let go. I love the quote by Suzuki Roshi when he said, "Renunciation is not giving up the things of this world, but accepting that they go away." You know, instead of you know, we hold on to things. We want them to stay, or to change in the way we want them to change, instead of letting them just be naturally as they are. And he also said to have renunciation is to go beyond various forms and colors. We have full appreciation of forms and colors, but they are bound to disappear, and we should not be caught by that. We do not have to give them up, but accept that they go away. Joseph Goldstein, I remember him talking once. He said, life is like fireworks, it's just, it expresses itself, awareness expresses itself, life expresses itself, and then it's gone or it changes. So this kind of renunciation has to do with kind of releasing our grip on with how we want things to be instead of how they actually are. In a sense, it's letting go of that resistance to the facts of life. So, basically we have to learn to relax, to get ourselves out of our mental traps. It starts, of course, by noticing how, maybe craving and longing and aversion and delusion kind of manifest in our lives. Especially now, it seems like aversion is such an intense experience for people. There's a lot of difficulty going on in the world right now. And I notice myself, whenever I see the news, the aversion that I feel, wanting things to be a certain way, which is, it's not a terrible thing to want calm and peace and so on. But it's when that aversion is so strong that we can't, live in terms of natural being or relax into natural being, where we're constantly tense. Of course, it takes quite a lot of practice to get to that point. And of course, mindfulness can be one of the things that really helps us with that. Noticing when particularly when aversion is there, noticing how we're pushing certain things away, or how we might be holding on to certain things, holding on to maybe hopes or certain things that have lived their usefulness for us. And, the more we can apply mindfulness and kind of notice how we might not be relaxed around reality, we can really employ a lot of, it's helpful to employ a lot of compassion for ourselves and those around us. It can be very hard. We can end up being very judgmental of ourselves as well. Sri Nisargadatta said, all you need is already within you. Only you must approach yourself with reverence and love. Self-condemnation and self-distrust are grievous errors. All I plead with you is this: make love of yourself perfect. So one of the ways that we can start to relax our grip, or relax the way we're interacting with the world, relax our way of finding the right answer, is to allow our senses, our five senses to awaken. It's not so that we can cling on to them necessarily, but really just opening to the five senses, especially when you can go out in nature, really opening to the visual field and taking in what's around, taking in sound and smells, touch, feeling the air, the crunch of the soil beneath our feet, or the sound of the sidewalk, the feel of the sidewalk, perhaps even taste, really opening to the senses. So we can really become familiar with our natural state of being. W.B. Yeats said, "The world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper." And I love that phrase of his. I heard it years ago on a meditation retreat, and really just spent the retreat opening my senses, not so I'm clinging on to anything, but really just opening to the natural state of being, opening my awareness, filling the space around me with awareness and connecting with what's there. In a sense, when we practice in this way, it can even intensify our mindfulness practice, really sharpen the mindfulness practice when we allow perception and work with the senses to be its focus. I know one particular meditation retreat I was on, I pretty much took the same path every day for about 6 weeks or so. So it started in May and ended in June up in Massachusetts. And, when I first took the walk, it was literally, I think, like May 1st, there wasn't much, there weren't any leaves at all. But each day, that I was going on the walk, I could really start to notice the forest waking up. After a couple of weeks, leaves were very full and large. And as I kept walking, then the light started to shift because the leaves were, creating shadows and so on. And I remember at one point I had been looking at this one tree that had some beautiful bark on it. And yet at this one evening, the light was coming through, and suddenly I saw some lichens on the tree that I had never seen before. It was just the change in the light and the leaves revealed the lichens that had been there the whole time. And it was really just, that consistent practice, that consistently opening to the visual field, and the entire forest, in a sense, letting my awareness fill the forest. I really got to sharpen being mindful and really knowing what was happening around me. It was very, very subtle, but very powerful to do that. And, as well as just kind of noticing, I would even call it walking meditation, what I was doing. So just noticing the feelings and sensation in my body as well. Some other supports for relaxing into natural being, I would say includes, bringing a sense of curiosity to practice, to opening awareness to the world. And as I mentioned, being compassionate with yourself and others, because a lot of times judging mind can jump in there. And persistence is really important. Another thing that can actually help us to relax into natural being is reading the suttas themselves. I know when I read the suttas, a lot of times I can just feel a sense of relaxation, just knowing that these messages from 2,600 years ago are coming down to me for my own benefit. And I feel supported by that and all the beings who have made it possible for these teachings to come to us all this time later. And the Buddha also talked about non-meditative practices that can help us relax into our natural state of being. One of those being the practice of sila, the Pali word for ethical and moral behavior. When you think about that, when you're practicing being ethical, being moral, there can be a deep sense of relaxation there, knowing that you're living in an impeccable way. So you don't have to tense against, leave that there. You don't have to tense against, that you're, maybe deceiving somebody or harming somebody in some way. Another way to support relaxing into natural being is cultivating a sense of generosity in the world. I was trying to help those teenagers understand that it's not about necessarily when you're generous, it really has more to do with a sense of letting go. And that might be, letting go or not being stingy with your time or your presence. Maybe it has to do with material resources, but generosity is really a practice of letting go, of renunciation even. So finding ways to let go, like if they were, maybe they're with their grandparents or something like that. And, that practice of generosity, of just listening to grandparents or just being in their presence, is a way of allowing yourself to relax instead of, getting tight. Like, I don't want to be doing this or that. So you can, the practice of generosity can also help with relaxing into natural being. And as I said, any of the renunciation practices can really be helpful to relaxing as well, because we're letting go of that grip every time we practice renunciation. Actually, this reminds me of a number of years ago. I think it was a news story on the BBC about these horses that were in South Africa. They may have been racehorses. I think they were. And these racehorses, they would build up a lot of stress and tension, like literally physical, but also like mental tension. And the trainers realized that if they took them to the beach, they would take these racehorses to the beach and turn them loose on the beach and let them swim. They would run in the sand and go out and swim in the water and frolic. And it just, it allowed them to relax, and then they can come back and, do whatever else they needed to do. But these horses actually need that time to relax. So, paying attention for ourselves. When do we need to relax? We can't always be working and taking in. Sometimes we truly need to rest. And one of the ways, that I find helpful is how, in any moment, asking myself, how am I paying attention right now? What is the quality of my attention? Is it trying to control something? Is it trying to hurry something along? Is it resisting something? Because our quality of attention is really going to create our experience, what it is we're experiencing. So in those teenagers, where we're talking about, can we have a quiz? That was their quality of experience. They wanted things, to be a certain way. rather than just kind of being open and it's like, what is this like? Let's investigate this together. Um, so it can be really helpful just to pause and use that as an inquiry at any time. It can be during meditation. It can be, when you're talking with coworkers, when you're standing in line, at the grocery store or something like that. What is the quality of my attention right now? And that can, it can give us a lot of information. It can also help us, is it possible that I could maybe let go a little right now or relax a little right now? uh, it can also be really helpful to notice, in the moment, if you start noticing, I really am relaxed right now. I am in a state of natural being or natural presence. And really just take note of that. Really feel that quality from the inside out. And remember it, because that can help you in future times. When you ask, okay, what's the quality of my awareness or my presence right now? Remembering back to another time when you were relaxed. Sometimes that can be a skillful means moving you towards that sense of relaxation or letting go. Some other contemplations that you might work with, like you might ask, are there any barriers to relaxing into natural presence or certain contexts, like maybe at work or, maybe certain friends or family. Those might be barriers. And you might also explore, what beliefs do you have about relaxing or relaxing into natural presence? Do things have to be a certain way? I remember when I belonged to a gym, this was pre-pandemic. I was exercising at night because I still worked downtown at that time. I really felt tired. And I was like, I just really want to rest. And I think I was using an elliptical, or maybe I was on the treadmill. And I noticed, so I was really paying attention to the fatigue in my body. And as I'm moving, like on the treadmill, I was like, oh, I think there's a brief moment there where, I'm kind of like neither foot is on the ground and I'm just kind of like in the air, so to speak. I was like, oh, I can just rest right in that moment. It's only like a little microsecond, but I can just find that rest, that relaxation, when I'm in the air, so to speak. And it was so refreshing to notice that I could have that micro moment of just, here I am in the air and I can just rest in that moment. But I really wouldn't have seen that if I wasn't paying very close mindful attention to what was happening in my body and in my mind. Let's see. And I think I'll close with this poem. I have a whole slew of poems. I always think that poems can be a really good way of connecting with some of these. This is called Lost by David Wagoner. Maybe it's pronounced Wagoner, Wagoner. And he writes, stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here. And you must treat it as a powerful stranger. Must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen, it answers, I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, saying, here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Thank you for your attention.